If you would like to weigh in on who is or is not the asshole after listening to this episode, please find the post on Instagram or YouTube where you can leave your opinion and tell us who you think is or is not the asshole. Later on, we will follow up with the results from our listeners.
Hey friends, I'm Ash.
I'm Elle.
We are Lovey Cosplay.
This is Shenanigans Cosplayers Say. We are bringing you somewhat of a request. So when we put up the poll to decide what our 100th episode was, it was relatively even between hot takes and doing Am I the Asshole? So yes, because we're not going to be censoring a bunch of stuff, I suppose I will have to mark this as an 18 plus episode, but I can already tell you right now the content is not 18 plus. But in order for us to say the word, we will have to market that. So we'll put that in the show notes. But if you are allowing anyone to listen that is under the age of 18, it's most likely fine. However, if you are listening to someone that can't handle the word asshole being said, then maybe it's not. But
I mean, we could just use really strong letters, but if you want to say the word asshole over and over again, we totally can.
It's just really obnoxious to have to do that. So I don't think that marking it impacts our...
It'll be okay.
Who ends up listening, since I'm pretty sure the largest percentage of our listeners are over the age of 18.
Yeah.
But in order for us to not get shut down by whatever governance of podcasts there is, I will have to mark it because we are saying a swear word.
We will make it the tag known.
Whatever.
Our very strong use of a word.
Right. So
yes.
We are going to be doing Am I the Asshole? Cosplaying in inappropriate places.
Yes, I'm excited. This will be fun. Let's go.
Yes. We have been doing research for something that involves these, so you may or may not get one of these episodes from time to time. So if you enjoyed this, please let us know so we can add more of them into our lineup.
It's true. These would also make really fun listener stories if
I mean, yes, that's
yes.
kind of what they are, essentially. They function in a very similar fashion. But I would not want to take listener stories and then have the audience decide if they're the asshole or not.
What if the audience wants that, though?
I mean...
What if the listeners are choosing, though?
If the
that's the whole point.
Were to choose for us to use their story and then put up a poll to find out whether or not they are the asshole, then I would do it.
Because that's consent, and that's how that works.
If the listener consents to us using their story in an Am I the Asshole fashion, then I would allow it.
Yes, because at the core of these posts is they are in one of many communities where the entire purpose is you tell your side of the story and then ask the other posters in the community if you are the asshole. Yeah,
so essentially these come from mostly Reddit.
Yep.
Where you can kind of, they almost vote on if they are or they are not.
It depends on the sub forums, the subreddit. So like the official, I guess you'd call it like the original Am I the Asshole? They actually have a bot that goes through and calculates votes. You have to format your post in a certain way so it reads it. And then there's other ones like, there's ones that's like AITA, and that's for like interpersonal relationship type thing, and they don't actually have, you still like put in your 2 cents and vote unofficially, but they don't have a bot that goes through and actually calculates whether or not you are the asshole or not based on percentages. So it's all good though.
Right. So what are we what are we starting with today?
All right, we're gonna start with an easy one. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my family for wearing cosplay to the airport?
Okay.
So, pretty harmless as far as titles go.
And we will post in the post on Instagram photos of what the characters are that these people would be cosplaying as to help you better decide whether they are or not the asshole.
Yes. So, am I the asshole for embarrassing my family for wearing cosplay to the airport? My family lives in Hawaii. Mom is from the Northeast and still has family in New England. Because of the distance, my sisters and I have met her side of the family once or twice. The last time was 7 years ago. We got a call from my aunt telling us to get to Boston ASAP because Grandma was in the hospital and might not make it to Christmas. We had like a day or something to get tested, pack whatever we need, and get tickets. Between school, work, and having like 24 hours to get ready, I barely had time to pack. I haven't been back to Boston in years. I live in t-shirts, board shorts, and sandals most of the time and wouldn't even know how to dress for that kind of weather. The only snow clothes I have is a blue coat and a Hufflepuff scarf that was once part of a Halloween costume of Newt Scamander. So I took those with me. Long story short, Mom is effing pissed at me right now. When we got to my aunt's house, she unloaded on me for dressing like a Harry Potter character, embarrassing her in front of her relatives during a family crisis, and that I was too old to still like that quote-unquote wizard crap. Her sisters aren't any better. I know she is beyond stressed out, but what did she expect me to do? We barely had time to catch the first flight to the mainland, and this is what I have. My dad and sisters are telling me that I didn't do anything wrong. We're all under a massive stress ball right now. But I was the one who got into a shouting match with our mother over a stupid coat, and now I can hear her crying from the guest room. I feel like a total POS right now. So, am I the asshole for embarrassing my mom in front of her relatives for accidentally wearing my old Halloween costume to the airport? Edit. I'm a 16-year-old dude.
Right.
So for those of you who are not familiar with Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, or who refuse to consume Harry Potter for any reason, which is totally valid, Newt Scamander wears like a blue, like wool peacoat and a black and gold scarf.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he wears like normal pants, like a brown vest, like a little black bow tie, and like a white dress shirt under it. But it looks like a normal men's dress coat that just happens to be like this dark peacock blue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's normal clothes.
It is very much normal clothes.
It's normal clothes. All right, so top comments. NTA, which means not the asshole for those of you that are not familiar. You needed warm clothes and wore what you had. Your mom may be stressed out, but that doesn't justify screaming at you. Like, would she have preferred if you just froze instead? Whether or not you're an asshole doesn't really matter right now. Go give your mom a hug and tell her that you love her. I really like that one. Because that's the important part.
True.
NTA, it's not like you decided to dress up as a Harry Potter character for the situation. You just grabbed whatever you got. Most people wouldn't even know they were in costume. So Reddit's verdict was not the asshole.
Yeah, so that's the big one is I don't think anyone else would have known. This is definitely a situation of like misplaced anger. Like mom probably feels the need to be angry and upset. And so we're deflecting on this situation because outside of like, you know, the original poster, like they probably have no idea. Like nobody else that was at this event. Because it's legit a coat and a scarf.
It's legit a coat and a scarf. OP, you are not the a-hole.
No. This one's pretty cut and dry. Like
yes. I thought we took it easy for the first one, but now you guys kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, so that is roughly how this works. So,
yes.
Oh, but the next one is a gem.
And the next one is a gem. Well, let's crack into it.
Okay. So, well, the first one was easy. However, Am I the asshole for going to my grandmother's funeral in my Scaramouche cosplay?
Yes!
You can't answer yet.
The word cosplay and funeral were in the same sentence.
Okay.
Knee-jerk reaction.
This is from Genshin Impact. So it is that character from Genshin Impact. We will post a picture. But before you make your split decisions, here's the story. So I, 15 years old, non-binary, recently had to deal with the passing of my grandmother, female, age 80. It was obviously heartbreaking, as any major loss in a family would be. I am autistic, and I use my special interests to cope with difficult times. One of my biggest ones is the character Scaramouche from Genshin Impact. He's been my biggest coping tool, especially since he also experiences loss in his family. So thinking about him and indulging myself in stuff related to him helps me. Last week was my grandma's funeral. I have a Scaramouche cosplay, and I couldn't see myself being able to deal with the funeral in any clothes other than my comfort clothes, aka my cosplay. So I went in costume for my own sanity. That ended up with a lot of dirty looks from family, and after the funeral, my grandfather called me angrily and accused me of not taking the passing of my grandmother seriously, and that I disrespected her and her ceremony for showing up in such a flamboyant costume. I explained to him that I wouldn't have been able to handle the funeral wearing anything else because of my issues, but he said that was BS and I was just making excuses. I really don't know if I was the asshole or not. My dad refuses to say anything about the situation, so I decided to come here. Reddit, am I the asshole? ETA, since people aren't understanding my autism, I am diagnosed as a level 3 or severely autistic. A lot of people in the comments seem to not understand. Okay. So.
Oof, shake it off. Unpack that for a second.
Yeah. I mean, one of our big questions was, did they go with the hat as well?
I don't believe that's ever answered.
It's not answered, so don't ask us if they went with the hat, because we have no answer for that. But it does sound like they directly wore the costume.
And this isn't one of those costumes like the last one where it's just clothes, because Newt's entire outfit, no matter which piece you're wearing, you could wear as normal clothing because they're all normal articles of clothing.
Yeah, there's nothing everyday about any outfit from Genshin Impact.
This entire outfit is clearly costume.
It is very loud. It is very shiny. It is very out there.
I think about the Genshin Impact costumes that we've ordered, like off of the internet, right, and what those look like in person when you get them.
It's a lot.
There's no question. Like,
yeah,
there's no mistaking it for anything besides what it is.
There's zero question that this is a costume. Okay, so before we get into some of the nitty-gritty of this, because we have there is some devil's advocate here a little bit. But here are some top comments. I'm using Google Images, so I may be wrong here, but that's completely not appropriate for a funeral. You distracted others from the focus of the service, your grandmother. It impacted others' ability to grieve by dressing in a costume. I understand autism as an autistic person myself, but you also need to understand how others behave in the world. Next time this is the situation, I suggest wearing your comfort item under another garment. You'll be hot, but you'll be able to wear it. So this actually would have also been my suggestion.
This was also my suggestion.
Like, this would have been my first thought, because taking into consideration certain needs with neurodiversity and probably anxiety is going to be my guess too. My suggestion would have been to put this on under something. It didn't need to be front and center to be on.
I agree. Well, and I think depending on the shirt, like, when you look at the picture, there's this like really large emblem. If that's like a separate piece that could be removed, even pairing this with like a pair of black dress slacks, And then having like even part of the shirt showing, but like under a blazer would have been better.
Oh, you could have easily put like a pair of pants and a blazer over this, and you might have been okay.
It would have looked a little eccentric.
It would have been a little eccentric.
But not completely inappropriate.
Now, it is possible, though, that it isn't necessarily the clothing itself, but needing to be the character itself that was like the sort of being able to hide behind that as a way to cope with the situation, in which case then this person would not have been willing to put anything over because they wouldn't be embodying that person. Which, again, we don't have that information.
No.
But if it is the costume itself, then yes, you could theoretically put things over it.
Well, in my thought process, if they are attempting, if that's the particular case and they're wanting to hide behind that mask, as it were, is, okay, so let's take ourselves out of Genshin Impact and transport this particular person into the real world in the culture that we're in. What would that person that we've plucked out of the video game wear to a funeral here?
So we do still have some other top comments that might put some more information into this. So all of these so far say that yes, this person is the asshole, by the way. Your grandmother dying isn't your loss only. It's a loss for her children, for her siblings, for her husband, etc. You knew this would be viewed as disrespectful and strange, and yet you still did it. I would be on your side if you spoke with your family first and explained you wanted to wear this for the reasons stated, but you can't expect to turn up in a cosplay to a funeral and not get called out for it. And we have another top comment. You made no effort to find something that would be comforting to you and socially appropriate. You upset your grandfather on the day he buried his partner of many decades. I also keep reading your reply, I'm autistic. Well, I'm a special education teacher, and I'm here to gently but firmly tell you that is not a catch-all excuse. Autism is not an explanation for how your brain and nervous system reacts and processes. Oh, I had to refix that. Autism is an explanation for how your brain and nervous system reacts and processes sensory input and data in a different way from the middle of the bell curve. It is not an excuse to not figure out ways and strategies to manage your anxiety and dysregulation. So, I think in particular the last one has some good points. Because it's a simple. It's said more frequently about mental health, but that like poor mental health is not an excuse for poor behavior.
Right.
I do think we also have to remember though that this person is 15 years old.
Yes.
And I know a lot of non-autistic teenagers that would probably also do this, that don't have that social awareness of others to take that into consideration. I don't know that this is super off from what someone in this age group might do, frankly.
I don't know.
As someone who works with teenagers.
I remember being a teenage cosplayer, though, and I can firmly tell you I never wore cosplay to a funeral.
I would say our age group when we were teenagers is much more aware and more willing to adjust to the social expectations than current teenagers.
I'm curious though, guys, I'm really curious what you all think, especially about this one, because this one is very
tough. I mean, they should have had the social understanding enough to maybe at least ask their family their opinion on this situation.
Well, and there's no like conversation because I have a hard time believing that obviously at 15 you can't drive. So it's one of those things, you physically got there, but were they just so like over it and checked out by that point that they're like, it's better that you go, even if this is how you're dressed and this is not a hill that I'm willing to die on the day that we bury my mom? I'm curious, though, what you guys think about this one in particular, especially for any of you that are also autistic.
Yes, I was...
Or 15-year-olds.
I was
either one.
Actually looking for a correct definition of level 3. I'm not going to give you a definition of autism level 3 from some applied behavioral analyst place, so...
I know, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, because of course the first things that come up on here is autism speaks. Ew. and a bunch of ABA clinics, which I'm not going to give you a definition from an ABA clinic. But I'm not going to go on my tangent about how I don't like how the levels are done anyway,
Yes.
because I think they're completely inaccurate. But hey.
Hey.
Oh, look. It's my friend Psychology Today.
Oh, I love Psychology Today.
I love Psychology Today. The short end of it is the levels are given by how much support you need. So...
And 1 is considered low?
1 is considered a lower support need, and level 3 is considered a higher level of support need. Level of support changes between individuals, so I kind of hate this designation in general.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on that tangent, but what our original poster is essentially trying to say is that they have a higher level of support need than what would be expected from level 1 or level 2.
Right.
There's no clear, like, A, B, or C as far as what that means.
Sure.
Obviously, this person has the ability to communicate in at least written language.
Mm-hmm.
What it means is that in some way, shape, or form, in something in which they need in their everyday life, they need an accumulation of significant supports.
Well, and they're also self-aware enough that they wanted to post the question to begin with to find out whether or not they were the asshole in this situation. I think the important thing that I always just keep like coming back to is especially that comment that was made by the special education teacher and that comment that you had made about mental health is, yes, it might be an explanation for the behavior, but it does not free you of any consequences of it.
Right.
Essentially. So.
Yes. It does not excuse poor behavior.
It does not. All right. Let's go down the next rabbit hole. Am I the asshole for wearing cosplay costume in public? One time, I was going to a convention and dressed up as a character from Siege. Now, I thought it would be a good idea to wear this costume casually in public, like going shopping or walking to the park, to cure my boredom. I don't really care what random people think of me, so getting embarrassed is not a problem. I checked, and it's not illegal where I live, so I saw no problem. Most people ignored it, some people smile or ask me what I am, or want to take a picture, and a lot of kids get excited. I never got any negative reactions, so I was planning to wear it with my dad when we went to the grocery store. But my dad was pissed. He said that I was going to get shot. It's embarrassing. They won't even let me in the store and a whole bunch of overreaction. I wanted to prove him nothing would happen, so I still wore it. And nothing happened. LOL. And my dad hasn't spoken to me ever since. Am I the asshole? My mom and my sister say that I am, and my mom is like she's gonna throw away the costume. I know I'm acting childish wearing it, but that's not my question. Before I tell you what this costume is, let's go. Let's see. I like this top comment in particular. It says, I don't care what people think is the exact opposite of why you're doing it.
True.
So the character in question, we find out in the comments, is the character Capkin. And this is from Rainbow Six Siege, which is a war game based on the Tom Clancy novel. They're wearing combat gear.
Yeah, we'll post a picture, but this would not be a safe thing to run around in.
They're wearing camouflage and boots and combat gear and a hood and a mask. And like, if they legitimately wore this entire costume, like, you don't wear this to the grocery store. No. You don't wear this just out in public, like, unless... Yeah, it's oof. Let's see. YTA, basically you want to wander around dressed in full combat gear. It would be different if you were dressed as Mario or Sailor Moon or Sonic the Hedgehog, but dressing up as a soldier is going to freak people out. I can agree with that.
I would agree with that.
YTA, mainly because you're being immature and childish. Yes, you can still technically wear whatever you want, but is the character you cosplayed a military-style character? Trench coat, fake armor? This type of out-of-context cosplay can be unnerving for people just trying to buy groceries. part of growing up means sometimes just because you can do what you want doesn't mean you should. Aw. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I mean, this one's pretty obvious.
I'm in the same thinking, though. Like, if you want to dress up at, like, if you want to wear literally anything that's not modern day, like, military regalia, essentially, like, let's not do, like, fake stolen valor with your, and I'm just thinking, like, people with, like, PTSD, and,
right,
like, you're in a grocery store, and you're gonna put people on edge and make them think that something's gonna happen.
Right, because we also don't know how old this poster is.
Right, but they're
guessing
obviously
a teenager, probably.
I'm guessing a teenager just from the way that the post is written.
Right.
Obviously, like, I would like to think that it's not like a 8 or a 10-year-old running around on Reddit, because they're not supposed to be on the website to begin with.
But again, the lack of social awareness of our teen generation right now, right here in this post.
Big oof.
Like,
oof.
This is not safe. It's not safe for them either, though, because, like, I mean...
What if you said something or did something and you set somebody off and, like, they had a bad reaction?
Right. Or like, somebody thinks that, like, what you're dressed in is real and they call, like, the police on you. Like,
yes.
It's not. We've seen this happen outside in larger cities at conventions where people with realistic looking military gear for costumes have been like, the police have come up to them. Because police have been called on them. It's happened multiple times.
It's happened
for
with people
years.
With clearly fantasy weapons.
Yes.
I remember this article a couple of years ago about a Star Wars themed restaurant that had the police called because they had stormtroopers outside with, like, clearly fake blasters. They're Star Wars style blasters, but, like, they're stormtroopers. They're like, it's an iconic, like, movie franchise, and they still got, outside of a clearly obvious restaurant that's based off of the franchise.
Well, right.
And they still, like, got in trouble with the law, essentially.
Well, yeah, because you have to be, I know New York is particularly particular. So things often happen around, like, New York Comic Con and whatnot, where cosplayers get essentially pulled over by the police to be like, check things out. And I mean, that used to happen back when I lived there many years ago, but that's because you would go in the Port Authority and there would be, like, military police with freaking giant guns standing outside of the Port Authority, and you wouldn't know why. You'd never know why. I also don't get what the motivation was to wear it to the grocery store of all places.
Because they want to, and they can.
Like, I get that the kids used to, like, go cosplay at the mall not that long ago, and, like, that kind of a thing, but I don't get I don't get what the motivation was to wear it to run to the grocery store.
Well, it sounds like it was to get a rise out of their dad.
I mean, yeah, it kind of does sound like it was, like, just to see if they could. Like, can I get away with doing this?
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
It's true.
Yeah.
I will agree with their mom that they are acting childish.
Yes.
In this scenario.
Uh-huh. And it's quite possible that mom paid for this costume. So I guess if she wants to throw it away, then...
I mean, if we have any teenage listeners, they may be disagreeing with us right now. I don't know.
I really want to know what people think about this in particular.
I want to know what the teens think. What do the teens think about this one? I mean, the one I really want to know, which, because it's kind of obvious this one, they are the asshole, and the first one, but the middle one is a complicated one. And I would love to know whether or not you all think that middle one is the asshole or not.
Yeah, I would say for this one, I'm kind of curious to hear from any teens that we have, or recent teens, and also any parents. Like,
right?
What are your thoughts on this?
Because then I had another kind of thought with the middle one, with the funeral too, is, as far as with the family's concerned, though, if this person is level 3, the family should be used to how much support they need, and probably could have, as we kind of mentioned, caught this issue before they went to the funeral. I would like to think the family is maybe aware of their need to cosplay and may have been able to skirt this whole issue before even going. Because they should be aware of the level of support that their child needs.
But then I think
it's not excusing the lack of social awareness and the behavior, but it also makes me go, but if your kid is 15 years old,
yeah,
you should by now be used to how much support they need.
I would think so.
So theoretically,
or maybe the parents weren't there, like, when they got dressed.
Maybe
they had a coat on, like, over top of the whole thing, and you didn't really, like, see it. Maybe one of their siblings brought them because their parents were already at the funeral.
It could be.
Because, I mean, I'm assuming, based on the story, that this is Dad's mom, since Dad's the one that it looks like they sought the opinion from after the fact.
Right.
But also, like, if I was grieving, like, one of my parents, like, I'm not dealing with this right now.
That's true. I don't know that I would have the energy to deal with this problem. Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you guys think. And we hope you enjoyed. Be sure to take part in our little, post-episode survey and let us know what you thought about these particular situations. And let us know if you like this and you're interested in hearing more of it, because I think they're super fun.
We are hunting down more wild ones as we speak.
I have lots of these already saved, but if there's anything in particular, let us know.
If you come across one that you particularly enjoyed, feel free to email or DM us at Lavi Cosplay.
Do it.
And we will take a look. But as we mentioned, these are research for an upcoming project, so there may be more here and there. But we would love, you can feel free to have the discussion in the comments on Instagram.
And please do not track down these original posters and harass them.
Do not harass them.
Do not. Some of these are going to, like, depending on how old they are, like, this might have happened ages ago, but please do not go harass the original posters and commenters on these threads. It is something we just want to kind of share with you guys, but just a disclaimer, please leave them alone.
Yeah, and we're not telling you, like, how old these are, or where they're from, or anything like that, and usernames and all that, because they don't need to be bothered, but they are interesting discussions, so...
And remember that the internet's forever.
Yes, do remember the internet is forever. Some of these people may be regretting these in their adulthood, but...
It happens, but that's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine, but all right. I'm Ash.
I'm Elle.
We are Lavi Cosplay.
And this is Shenanigans Cosplayers Say. If you would like to weigh in on who is or is not the asshole after listening to this episode... Please find the post on Instagram or YouTube where you can leave your opinion and tell us who you think is or is not the asshole. Later on, we will follow up with the results from our listeners. You've been listening to Shenanigans Cosplayers Say, produced by LVC Productions. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at Lavi Cosplay. Our podcast Instagram is podcast SCS. Our website is lavicosplay.com. Have a fun, crazy con or cosplay related story, absurd cosplay question, or just something in general to share with us? Email us at podcastscs@gmail.com or DM us at podcastscs or Lavi Cosplay on Instagram. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening, and remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should.